Please subscribe to the channel and stay with me. This story only unfolds its meaning if you hear it to the very end. I joked about wanting a new husband at my sister's birthday dinner. Glass raised, laughter already circling the table like a lazy vulture. I expected embarrassment, maybe an eye roll. What I didn't expect was my husband's reply, so calm, so precise, that the room fell silent, as if someone had cut the power. "Go ahead," Stefan said, folding his napkin. "Just make sure he's willing to inherit what you're trying to escape." The words landed softly. That was the worst part. We were in Salzburg, Austria, early spring, when the snow retreats reluctantly into the mountains and the river runs fast with meltwater. The restaurant overlooked the old town, candlelight reflecting off windows warped by centuries. My family loved places like this. History is decoration, not burden. Stefan had always been the burden, at least in their eyes. He came from a small village near Linz, the son of a woman who cleaned hotels and a father who never came back from a job in Germany. He carried himself carefully, like someone who learned early that one wrong step could cost everything. My family mistook that for weakness. They adored me, though. Or rather, they adored the version of me that laughed at their jokes and played along with the narrative that I had married beneath myself. I let them believe it. After Stefan's reply, no one laughed. My mother cleared her throat. My brother stared into his wine. My sister suddenly found her cake fascinating. I forced a smile. "It was just a joke." "I know," Stefan said. So was my answer. But his eyes didn't match his tone. They were distant, final. That night, back in our apartment overlooking the Salzach River, he didn't touch me. He didn't argue. He simply slept on the couch, fully dressed, as if prepared to leave at any moment. For weeks after, he became quieter than usual, not withdrawn, focused. He woke earlier, came home later, spoke less. I told myself it was work. Stefan was a structural engineer, the kind who reviewed projects no one else wanted to touch. Old buildings, complicated foundations, quiet risks. My father, a prominent real estate developer, had once offered him a job. Stefan declined. "He doesn't understand ambition," my father had said. I repeated that sentence more times than I could count. The first crack appeared in May. My father's flagship project, a luxury residential complex on the outskirts of Salzburg, was suddenly delayed. Inspections, paperwork issues, environmental concerns that had somehow been overlooked until now. At dinner, my father ranted, "Incompetence everywhere. People who don't know how the system works." Stefan ate silently. I began to feel uneasy. My family's wealth was old but fragile, layered over compromises and shortcuts made decades ago. My grandfather had built it after the war, cutting deals with whoever was willing to forget the past quickly. My father inherited the structure, not the skill. Stefan knew structures. One evening, unable to hold it in, I asked him directly, "Did you do something?" He looked at me for a long time before answering. I stopped protecting things that weren't mine to protect. That should have frightened me. Instead, it annoyed me. "You're being dramatic." "No," he said gently. "I'm being precise." Summer came in bright and merciless. Tourists flooded the city. Music spilled from open windows. And my family's empire began to wobble. Banks asked questions. Contractors backed out. An investigative journalist called my brother about zoning irregularities from 10 years ago. Details Stefan had once mentioned casually, back when he still believed I listened. At a family gathering in July, my mother pulled me aside. "Your husband is acting strange. He's always been resentful." Resentful, that word again. Always assigned to people who refuse to be grateful for crumbs. I confronted Stefan that night. Anger sharp and brittle. "You're hurting my family." He nodded. "They hurt me first, quietly, for years." "You laughed." "I was joking," I snapped. "So was I," he replied. "Remember? That was when I realized something I had avoided for a long time. Stefan never forgot anything. He simply stored it, cataloged it, waited. The moral dilemma arrived in August, when my father asked me to speak to Stefan, really speak to him, to make him help fix things. "He's your husband," my father said. "Control him." The word echoed uncomfortably. I went home and found Stefan on the balcony, staring at the fortress across the river, its walls glowing orange in the setting sun. "They're scared," I told him. "You've made your point." Isn't that enough? He turned to me. You joked about replacing me because you thought I was disposable. Your family taught you that. I believed it too, for a long time. So this is revenge? I asked. He considered the word. This is correction. By autumn, the investigation became official. Permits revoked, projects frozen. My father aged 10 years in 2 months. My mother stopped hosting dinners. The climax came in October, in a conference room overlooking rain-soaked rooftops. Lawyers, auditors, family members, all present. And Stefan, calm, composed, with a folder thicker than any defense my father could assemble. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He simply explained structural risks, financial dependencies, ethical oversights. Facts stacked neatly, impossible to argue with. When it was over, my father looked at him, not with hatred, but something like awe. You could have told us, he said. I did, Stefan replied. You laughed. The fallout was quiet, but devastating. Assets sold, reputations bruised, invitations stopped coming. Our marriage didn't survive it. I moved into a smaller apartment across town. Stefan stayed where he was. There were no dramatic scenes, no final fights, just a mutual understanding that something fundamental had broken long before the joke. Winter returned to Salzburg, snow softening the city, hiding scars under white silence. I saw Stefan once more, months later, at a cafe near the university. He looked lighter, free. I thought about apologizing, about explaining, about joking one last time. Instead, I said nothing. As I walked away, I finally understood his reply that night at the dinner table. It wasn't meant to humiliate me. It was a warning. And by the time I heard it clearly, it was already too late.